Yes, your turn.
I'm Tom Richards, and I first met Pat when Bob and Jim and I started, and Pat started drinking at St. John's University. And I will always remember Pat from those days as being a saint, Saint Pat, because she put up with Bobby in those days. And we did have a wonderful time while she was there at school with us, and later on, when I was in the Air Force in San Antonio, I was in OTS there, and Bobby and Pat lived in San Antonio. And on weekends, when I could get away, they would take me in, and for 36 hours, I could wear civilian clothes and wear jeans and a shirt and real human food. And then they'd take me back to the base on Sunday nights and drop me off on a side street. And they'd push me out of the car, and I'd just start marching back to barracks. It was all very, very, very normal. And Bobby and Pat made that happen for me. And later on, when they started having children, and Pat and I, my wife Pat, were thinking about family, we spent a lot of time with Bobby and Pat, and we saw what a loving family and a close family meant, and we aspired to that. And I like to think that it was their role modeling that helped us to start our family. And I joined Cynthia in complimenting Chris and Marie for being wonderful people and great folks and a great family, and we thanks to all for the opportunity to be here today and remembering Pat.
My name's Rob Shirley. I've had the pleasure of knowing Pat for 30 years as a good friend. And one time I asked Bob, how on earth did you meet Pat, Bob? And I don't know how many of you have heard this story, but here was Bob's depiction, which Pat somewhat confirmed, which was they were at a social party, and you know, Bob's seeing the regular girls around, and he gets a look at Pat, and he starts asking all his friends, who is that girl? Who is that girl? And party was in Brooklyn, and Pat was from the Bronx. And finally, he got somebody to introduce himself to Pat, and she said something like, now I want you to know I have standards. Bob says, okay, what does that mean exactly? And anyway, somehow Bob, in his wisdom, talked her into being his girlfriend and then his wife. So it was just an amazing event. I was lucky enough to see Pat a little less than a year ago in San Francisco for lunch with Bob and my wife Diane, and it was at the oldest Italian restaurant in San Francisco. It was really pleasant. She was hilarious, fun, and having a great time, mostly elbowing Bob in the ribs. So I thought that was terrific too. Thank you. It's good to meet everybody. Great celebration, and we're going to miss Pat, and you're in our hearts forever.
Okay, those who have not met, I'm Bill Conley, and I've known Bob, actually I met Bob first in 1978. We all kind of came to FedEx in the early years. And through our lives in Pat's Crossing, I got to meet Pat, and it actually was when they moved to Germantown. You know, one thing about FedEx, once you did well, you had to go to Memphis for purgatory for a while. So we all went to Memphis, and at that time I was a divorced father with two young kids growing up, and on a regular basis, the Ferris would have a lot of us over to their house for barbecues and socials, and Bob and Pat and my friends and we all got together. We'd go canoeing. We did a lot of barbecuing. And the one thing I remember a lot about the Ferri family, which again was great for me because I didn't have my kids with me all the time, was one, beautiful kids, and Pat was just such a great mom and a great role model for parents. And really, I was always taken back by that. And then she kind of protected me because I was kind of like the troubled child. I was regularly getting into trouble. And so she was kind enough to take care of me and invite me over for dinner and stuff like that. And I never forget her openness and her kindness to me personally. And I always amazed how she put up with Bob sometimes because we would travel together. And you know, and Bob at work is different than Bob at home. Bob at home is a great father and a good friend. But sometimes traveling, he can get a little wild on occasion. But it just happens, you know, what can I say? But all I would say was that I always thought Pat was a beautiful woman, and I remember nothing but good things about her. I've not seen her in the past few years because of distance and time, but I'm sure that she is looking down on everybody today because she's that type of person who's always protective and always looking out for you. And I'm just really pleased to be here today to join the event. So.
My name is Rick Sierra. I used to work for Bob at the Western Region when he's the managing director of Worldwide Accounts. Known Bob and Patty for a long, long time, and I really enjoyed both of their company. They are wonderful people, very thoughtful, and I love her laugh. She was just, when she laughed, it just gave me goosebumps, and I get all excited to see her laugh. And when my husband died, Bob and Patty were there for me. True friends. Oh, but anyway, the last time I actually saw Patty was when Jimmy came out for a visit. And I talked to Jimmy all the time because I answered Bob's phone at work. And so Bob called me and said, "Hey, Jimmy's coming out, Jimmy's coming out." I said, "Oh, great, great. Let's meet at Thunder Valley." So we had a wonderful time. Marie was there. And we just, I mean, I laughed so hard that my stomach hurts. The next day, I couldn't get out of bed because my stomach was just, oh my God, the laughter was just awesome. And we had a wonderful, wonderful evening together. And I know you're here. And you'll never be Patty, ever.
Hi, my name is Pat Richards, and well, let me start by saying that when I first met Pat Green, there were a lot of Pats around in the group, and there was everybody was marrying somebody named Pat. Jimmy married someone named Pat. We'll have to talk about that.
Yeah, bring that up.
And Bobby married somebody named Pat, and they had a sister named Patricia, and I was a Pat. So we were all referred to by our maiden names. So for years, it was never last names. It was always, that was Pat Green, and that's how I first met Pat. Was in that way. I'm embarrassed to say that Tom and I really lost track of Bobby and Pat, and we were really close for all the years that they lived in New York. We first weren't married, then we were married, and hung out with them all the time. Bobby and Pat were in our wedding, and I'd like to say about Pat that everybody else besides these guys, well, we took Bobby to get Pat, but but everybody else in the wedding party was family, but we chose them because they were such good friends. And when I think of the amount of time that we spent out hanging out in their apartment in Bayside and then in Holbrook with them and Chris and Marie, who were like, you know, we borrowed them as children to try it out and whatever. You know, I'm really, if we can take, you survived, and you did beautifully, you did beautifully. I guess if we can take anything from that is to try and stay in touch with your friends. I mean, if we can learn anything from this, it's just been fabulous for us to be out here so far away and to reconnect with Bobby and Jimmy and Cynthia and, you know, Chris and Marie. It's just been fabulous. And, you know, if there's one thing that we can take out of this, it's less the regret and more the try and stay in touch with people that mean so much to us.
My name is Victoria Forster. I haven't known Pat for very long. I've only known her for a couple of years. But she became very special in my life, and I don't know how it happened or why, but all of a sudden she was visiting with me for Christmas and Thanksgiving with my son and her daughter Marie. And the sparkle in her eyes just attracted me to her as a person. So I feel very special to have known her.